Hey dudes, welcome back to our channel. For today's presentation on statistical tests on how do we interpret an independent samples test using the software package, that is the statistical package for the social sciences, or simply known as the Spss. Meron tayong sample research questions here, the exam result. A teacher teaches two groups of students using different methods. So our group 1 are introduced to traditional lectures and group 2 are online lectures. So ito yung ating exam results for students receiving different teaching methods recorded out of 100 for both groups. So ang tanong natin dito, are two groups differ statistically significant? Anong group ang mas magaling? Is there a significant difference on the different methods of teaching, the traditional lectures and online lectures? To analyze the results, so gamit nating independent sample test. So it compared the means of two independent groups. So our group 1 in traditional lectures and group 2 are online lectures, and they are not related to each other to measure its group. In analytical methods for the independent sample test, so we need two variables. Our first variable, the measured parameter. So paano natin masukat yung parameter between the two groups? So we have the exam results. So yan ang ating group 1 with the corresponding results and group 2. Then ang second variable natin, it divides the data set into two groups. So we have the group 1 and group 2. So we're going to compare the means of group 1 and group 2. For the interpretations of the results, so dapat alam natin yung basic steps for interpreting any significance or the p-value. Okay, number 1, determine the null hypothesis. The null hypothesis is denoted as H sub O, mu1 is equal to mu2, or the mean 1 is equal to mean 2. Usually written in nothing different, no significant difference, or the nothing new. It shows the same behavior of a certain characteristics of the populations. If null hypothesis is not true, so we can use the alternative of H sub 1. The mu1 is not equal to mu2, so the means of two groups are not equal. So ibig sabihin nito, something is happening, or there's an effect, or maybe there's a significant difference. Okay, you're going to interpret the significance or the p-value. Ibig sabihin nito, the probability of statistic. So statistic, so without S. So ibig sabihin nito, the data derived from the sample. Or it tells you how likely it is that your data could have occurred on the null hypothesis. Another one, so if the p-value is low, then reject the null hypothesis. So ibig sabihin nito, a smaller p-value, that there is a stronger evidence in favor of the alternative hypothesis. So we can use the 95% confidence interval. So we have the p, or the p-value is less than or equal to 0.05. Ibig sabihin nito, the test hypothesis, that is the null hypothesis, is not true. Yung hindi totoo, then the null hypothesis should be rejected. So therefore we conclude that there's a significant difference. So this is the commonly used for the research. If the p-value is high, then do not reject the null hypothesis. So ibig sabihin nito, the p-value is higher than 0.05 or p is greater than 0.05. So it indicates the strong evidence for the null hypothesis. So no significant difference. So we must accept or we do not reject the null hypothesis here if p is greater than 0.05. This time, so let us open the species environment or the statistical package for the social science. In analytical method for independent sample state test, so kailangan natin yung variables natin, two variables. So first, identify natin yung group 1 as indicated as 1. So we have 12 participants or the respondents for this group or the traditional lectures, and for group 2, so we have 10 participants on the online lectures. So that is our data. So let's proceed to the variable view. So let's change the variable to group. So we have now the groups, so 1 and 2. For column 2, the exam results of all students from group 1 to group 2. The first participants of group 1 got the scores of 40. The next 65, then 70, and so on hanggang the last students of group 2. So let's click the variable view, then change this variable into exam results. Then this time we may now check in our data view the exam results. So to carry out the independent sample state test in Spss, click the analyze, compare means, independent sample state test. Okay, ito na yung ating window for the independent sample state test, where you will specify the variables to be used in the analysis. Lahat ng mga variables natin in our data set, the groups and the exam results, appear on this box. Maaari nating i-move yung variables to the right by selecting them in the list. I-click lang natin yung blue arrow button, but the group is not our test variable, but our test variable here, our dependent variable, is exam result. Then choose highlight, then click the blue arrow, then transfer to test variable. This is the continuous variable whose means will be compared between the two groups. And the grouping variables or independent variables, the grouping variables must have at least two groups. So i-compare natin yung means nila, then we will need to specify the groups to compare. So we have to define groups. Then after clicking the define group, so we have to indicate the group 1 as 1 and group 2 as 2. Then continue. You may check also the option button to check the 95% confidence interval. Then continue and click the OK to get the following output. So we have here the two tables here. The first table, our descriptive statistics, our group 1 and group 2. Then N represents the number of participants and the mean of each group. So we have also here the independent sample test. There are two significance values to be interpreted here. Ang una is the Levin's test for equality of variance. Yan, and the other is the t-test for equality of means. The Levin test for equality given the value or the p-value of 0.090. So anong ibig sabihin nito? So what is the null hypothesis here? So h sub o is the variance 1 is equal to variance 2, or equal variances assumed. And we have also the alternative indicated as H1. The variance is variance 1 not equal to variance 2. So now interpreting the p-value, so interpret natin yung p-value. The p-value is equal to 0.90, which is greater than 0.05. Mas malaki yung 0.90 kaysa 0.05. Ibig sabihin nito, we do not reject the null hypothesis or the H sub O. So we can assume the equal variances. Since we do not reject the null hypothesis, so we can use the first row of the test result. Okay, para sa t-test natin, so gamitin natin yung first row of the test result. So our t-test result give the p-value of 0.007, which is a small or the less than 0.05. Mas mababa ito kaysa 0.05. Here, we are testing for the equality of group means. Our null hypothesis here, the HO, group 1 mean is equal to group 2 mean. And alternative H1, group 1 mean is not equal to group 2 mean. By looking the p-value, since our p-value is 0.007 is less than 0.05, mas mababa kaysa 0.05, then we should reject the null hypothesis in favor of H1. So ibig sabihin, tatanggapin natin yung H1 since there's a significant difference or there's an effect between the group 1 and group 2. Another way to check the difference, so alamin natin yung 95% confidence interval for the difference in population mean, so that is 6.478 and 34.989. The entire interval for the difference in means, which is greater than 0 or 20 point something, or that is above 0 or mas mataas sa 0. So this tells us that we have a statistically significant effect at 95% confidence. For the reporting the statistical results on independent sample test, so let us summary on our table. So difference between the means of the exam results of students of traditional lectures and online lectures. So here's our table, the variables, the traditional lecture and online lectures. So here's our results in our species. The mean for the traditional lectures 55.33 and the online lectures is 34.60. And for the independent sample test, the t value or the computed value is 3.034 and the p value is 0.007. But the p value here is less than 0.05. So mas mababa ang p value natin kaysa 0.05. So we can describe here the alternative, and we can reject the null hypothesis in favor of each one, so with significant difference. To conclude, so there's a significant difference between the means of the exam results for students of traditional lectures and online lectures. If we look back at the actual mean exam result value, then we see the group 1 mean and the group 2 mean. So our group 1 and group 2, two groups are differ statistically significant. Then we did conclude the group 1 appear to have done statistical significant better than group 2. On this particular study, the students who taught on the traditional lectures are performed well than online lectures. Okay, this ends of our presentation. Thanks for watching.